There's a disturbing phenomenon that occurs when we're behind closed doors, where the masks we wear in public are torn away, and our true selves are revealed, only to be followed by a crushing realization that the people we thought we knew may not be who we thought they were at all. This paradox stems from a profound fear of rejection and a desperate need to fit in, which leads people to abandon their authenticity and live a double life, carefully curating their public image while secretly suffering in silence. I've seen it in my own friends and family, the bright smile and effortless charm 1 minute, only to be replaced by anxiety and desperation as soon as the facade crumbles, leaving behind a hollow shell of what was once a genuine human being. In this video, we're going to dive into the dark corners of human psychology to understand the hidden forces driving this phenomenon, and uncover the unspoken truths that people only dare to whisper to themselves late at night, when the world has finally stopped watching. When we put on the mask of who we think others expect us to be, it's a thinly veiled attempt to avoid being rejected, to be accepted and validated by those around us. We pretend to be something we're not because we're desperate for human connection, but ultimately, we end up pushing people away with our carefully crafted facade. The performance of authenticity is a delicate balancing act, where we're constantly trying to outdo each other in a game of who can be the most genuine, the most vulnerable, and the most relatable, all while secretly manipulating the outcome to get the validation we so desperately crave. In this endless dance, our insecurities are always one step ahead, constantly whispering to us that we're not enough, that we're flawed, and that we'll never be good enough, so we keep on performing, trying to outrun the voices in our heads. But the truth is, our actions are rarely driven by a genuine desire to be authentic. More often, they are controlled by a desperate need for control. A need to dictate the terms of how we're perceived by others, to prove to ourselves and others that we're worthy of love and acceptance. Ultimately, the mask we wear is a clever disguise for a more sinister reality, a desperate bid to avoid the unknown, to cling to the familiar, to stave off the crushing fear of rejection and the uncertainty of who we really are. As we navigate the complexities of modern society, we often find ourselves trapped in a vicious cycle of expectation, where the relentless pursuit of validation drives us to conform to the standards set by others, suppressing our authentic selves in the process. We're led to believe that our self-worth is tied to our ability to fulfill these expectations, and that our identities are defined by the roles we play, rather than by our true passions and desires. But beneath the surface, most people are secretly desperate for connection and acceptance, and they'll often sacrifice their authenticity in exchange for fleeting moments of validation and approval. The irony is that the more we cater to societal pressures, the more we become prisoners of our own fear and insecurity, trapped in a fragile web of self-deception that's perpetually torn between our true selves and the personas we're forced to adopt. It's time we acknowledged that the allure of validation and the promise of approval are potent tools used to manipulate and control, and that the real drivers of human behavior are often shrouded in the subtlety of ego, attraction, and fear. At the heart of this double life lies a fundamental need for validation, a desperate attempt to secure approval and acceptance from those around us, often coming at the cost of our own authenticity. We present a curated version of ourselves, a facade that hides our true fears, insecurities, and vulnerabilities, as we constantly seek to manage the impressions we make on others. Behind the mask of a perfect exterior, we engage in self-protective mechanisms, such as rationalization and denial, to shield ourselves from criticism and judgment, all while secretly craving the freedom to be our genuine selves. The pursuit of social validation becomes an insatiable hunger, driving us to conform to societal norms and expectations, where we sacrifice our unique identities on the altar of superficial acceptability. As we oscillate between authenticity and deception, we unwittingly grant others the power to define our worth, leaving us vulnerable to their criticisms and opinions, rather than forging a sense of self-worth that's grounded in our own values and principles. In the grand charade of hiding behind a pretend identity, we often lose sight of what truly draws others to us, our authenticity, and instead become enthralled with the fleeting allure of validation and control, which ultimately prove to be a hollow and elusive prize. We often look at others and assume their authenticity, but the truth is, they are hiding just as desperately as we are, behind a veil of perfection that barely conceals their deepest insecurities. People wear masks of confidence and strength, but beneath the surface lies a tangled web of fear, a constant struggle to validate their existence in a world that demands so much, yet offers so little true support. Societal expectations dictate how we should live, love, and present ourselves, forcing individuals into a double life, where the authentic self is pushed to the fringes, only visible in fleeting moments of vulnerability. Their actions are a manifestation of the constant quest for validation, often driven by a desire to elicit a specific response, to prove their worth to themselves and others, thus perpetuating a cycle of self-deception. These fragmented personas we present to the world are an attempt to control the narrative of our lives, to create a sense of order in a chaotic world. But in doing so, we lose ourselves in the process, leaving behind the very essence of our authenticity. It's a delicate dance, where we present our most alluring self to the world, while secretly craving genuine connection. But the fear of being truly seen, of being vulnerable, holds us back, leaving us stuck in this limbo of pretending and craving truth. In order to truly stand out from the crowd, one must first be willing to acknowledge the profound impact that societal expectations have on our most fundamental identity. Beneath the surface of perfectly manicured public facades lies a labyrinth of hidden insecurities and fears that drive individuals to conform to predetermined norms. The search for validation from external sources is a primal urge that often supersedes the desperate need for authenticity, leaving us to compromise our values and desires for the illusion of acceptance. People's authentic selves are slowly suffocated by the weight of pretense, until the only reality they know is one fabricated to appease the expectations of others. It's a vicious cycle of self-deception, where individuals convince themselves that their actions are genuine, but in reality they are merely trying to mask their true intentions, often driven by a deep-seated fear of rejection and abandonment. The pressure to conform breeds a culture of fear, where the pursuit of external validation is the ultimate motivator, rather than the pursuit of genuine happiness and fulfillment. But what's even more insidious is the way societal expectations can manipulate our perception of ourselves, warping our sense of identity and self-worth. We become so entrenched in the idea of who we think we're supposed to be, that we forget what it truly means to be ourselves. And yet, it's this very need for control and validation that ultimately drives people to seek out relationships and attractions that are often shallow and fleeting, rather than forging deep, meaningful connections with others that can nourish their authentic selves. The hidden double life is not just a product of societal pressure, but also a reflection of our own insecurities and the fragility of the human ego. It's a reminder that the line between authenticity and conformity is razor thin, and that it's only through confronting our deepest fears and desires that we can begin to reclaim our truest selves. We've taken a journey into the secret struggles of those living under the weight of societal expectations, forced to hide their true selves from the world. As we conclude this conversation, I urge you to reflect on how you've been influenced by the people around you and to consider the true costs of maintaining a facade. If you found this conversation thought-provoking, hit like, share your observations in the comments below, and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of the complexities of the human experience.